Normally there's music in this space, but I didn't plug my iPad in and it's not charged and it just died seconds ago. So exactly.
Da, 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 da.
Welcome. It's Mysterious Forces Live. It is July 6th, 2019. It's Saturday night. Thank you for being here. I'm so used to having the music. It felt completely naked to start this show without the music, but it'll be back next time. I just didn't start charging in time. I hope you're having a wonderful 4th of July weekend. Everyone loves those 3-day weekends, 4-day weekends. I hope everyone's being safe, and especially all my friends in Southern California. I hope everyone is okay from all the earthquake activity. That's pretty crazy. I've been in a 6.4 myself, and I was on the 6th floor of a building in Costa Mesa. Excuse me, did I just burp on? That's Coca-Cola right here. And this is the Mexican stuff too with real sugar. Anyway, so I was on the 6th floor of a building in Orange County working, and we had a 6.4 hit, and the building had been designed, it was on rollers. So this tall building kind of shifted back and forth. And when you're in the middle of a building that's flexing and moving back and forth, and you're from the Midwest and you grow up around cornfields, it's pretty damn scary. So well wishes to all my friends and everyone in California, everyone affected by the earthquake there. I hope that the damage is minimal. I hope that there's been no casualties as far as I've heard. And I know that there's some building damage. There's been some fires and stuff, but I don't think anything too totally out of hand. Nothing that would require, say, The Rock to show up in a helicopter and fix everything. But I've been looking forward to having tonight's guest on for a long time. We've been Facebook friends for a while. And Mark Gemini Thwaite, who I interviewed when he came through Phoenix with Peter Murphy on the Bauhaus tour. Yes, Mark Gemini
Love
Thwaite.
him.
Yes. And so I'm Facebook friends with Mark and his girlfriend and Queenie, and they have kind of a social circle. And I'm not really I'm not friends in that group with any of those people personally, but just kind of peripherally through Facebook, and then getting to meet Mark by doing the interview, which is a great interview. If you haven't seen that, go back and take a look at it because we had a great time that night. But tonight's guest, without any further ado, her name is Queenie Black, and she selected these words for her description, not me. So I don't want you to throw rotten fruit at me. She is self-described as an old bat in the spooky dark art scene since the 1900s. She has a vast library of artwork in multiple mediums, and she's assembled that library of artwork over the last 20 years, if I didn't say that. And she's the creator, first and foremost, I suppose, of the Pocket Full of Posiez dolls.
Yep.
And we'll get into that, and look for links below down in the description or somewhere in the chat room tonight. And Queenie lives in Los Angeles, born and raised. She's an Angelino, and that's her base of operations. So she is one of the people, I would say, on the inner circle of the LA goth scene for sure. She knows a lot of people and the who's who. And we'll get into her artwork. And Queenie Black, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi. Yay. Hi, everybody.
So if anyone looked at what I'm just stumbling. I'm tongue-tied tonight. I don't know why. I'm tired. I'll tell you what it is. I'm tired. I've had a long week. I've worked very hard this week with a lot of physical labor around the house, renovation stuff, and I'm exhausted. So please bear with me. Normally I'm better.
You're more better? More better.
I'm more better. I swear to God. I'm not high. I'm not drunk. I'm not nothing. I'm tired. So
don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Sometimes I get accused of being on drugs, but it's just the way I talk.
Exactly. So I went to the Mad Monster party last week in Phoenix, and covered that. And if anyone saw the episode, I did a walkthrough, and it's pretty entertaining. And I started to say something at one point. I got distracted by someone that I encountered and interviewed them. But I'm a person in college. I had some goth friends, and I got to know them, and I hung out with them. And I love goth music. I love goth art. I love goth clothes, the whole thing. But to be quite honest with you, I've never been goth myself, probably because I'm too lazy. Like, it is a kind of a, in terms of looks and appearance and everything, it is a high maintenance situation. And
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. And like on the inside, spiritually, I'm like a goth person. I have that sense of humor. I have that sensibility, but it's just not displayed in my outer appearance. But it certainly is reflected in my taste in art and music and culture. And I would like you to explain, especially since you're from Los Angeles, what it was like, how you got introduced to the goth genre, how you got into the look, and then how your experience was in Los Angeles as that kind of blossomed, especially as I imagine in the 80s.
Yeah, it's a funny story because when I was, I'd say 14, 15, I was a punk. I had, the creepers and the hair sticking, I was a punk. So my friend, he comes over to the house and he's in total white makeup, wearing all black. And we're like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, it's this new thing. There's this new club, and it's called Death Rock. And I was like, what? I kind of liked the way he looked and everything, because I hadn't been introduced to the music just yet. So he kind of introduced me to the music, and then I just fell in love with it because for me, growing up, I loved Dracula. Like, I had a crush on Dracula when I was 6. Like
Absolutely.
Bela Lugosi Dracula.
Yes, indeed.
And I just loved, there was just something about the darkness that attracted me. And I can't really say why, because we don't know what attracts us, but just I kind of always describe it as the base of life, like literally, like like the instrument, the
Mm-hmm.
bass, and like it being the base of life. So I just like the
Yeah, I play bass
not
guitar,
the
so it is the connection between the melody, but it's also locked into the rhythm. So it's that in between melody and rhythm, and it's locked into both worlds.
yeah. So I kind of like to explain it like that, because it's not, but I mean the base of life, not just
Mm-hmm.
music. So but of course I still like the stuff, la
Mm-hmm.
la la.
Right.
spooky cute stuff. But so growing up, it's so funny because kids today can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They could pretty much walk down the street looking like, you know, without people batting their eyes. I mean, really, in reality. But I was one of 2 at my high school. One or two. Death Rock, it was called back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I, I don't know. It just, I would, the minute I heard The Cure, the minute I heard Bauhaus, I was just, that was it.
That
That
was
was
it, huh?
it. That was it. Well, before then, it was Adam and the Ants.
Okay.
So Stand and Deliver, when I saw that video, I was like, my people, you know, because I liked the costumes and stuff with that. But yeah, it's just, and I never get tired of the music. I never get tired of it. I could listen to the same stuff I listened to in 1985 and be perfectly happy
Oh yeah,
the rest of my
yeah.
life.
There are
You
some
know?
albums that never wear thin for me, and Peter Murphy's Deep is one of those albums where
Oh,
I've heard it a million times, and I never get tired of it. And as a matter of fact, the second time I ever saw Mark with Peter Murphy, they were touring and they were playing the whole Deep album from
oh, I
beginning to
wish I would have saw
end.
that.
And
Yeah.
I saw that down at the observatory in Costa Mesa, and it was a great show. So the Cure and Bauhaus, and
Mm-hmm.
was you're a little younger than me, and without giving anything away, knowing that I know that the early '80s were kind of like new wave, punk
Mm-hmm.
was happening, and then goth kind of came in there, and the Cure, of course, but I think some of that, what I would call pure goth sensibility, kind of came through with Susie and the Banshees. That was
Oh,
kind of
no,
that underground
she was my
hardcore,
icon right there. She
yeah,
was my icon. I still love her. She's a huge idol for me, you know. But no, yeah, Susie was in there too, in that mix too. So yeah,
yeah.
night.
And so what my question is, when you were growing up and coming into the scene, was there a nexus between punk rock, new wave, and goth, or had the time passed for new wave and we were getting a little more into the later '80s where hair metal was losing its grip? It was getting a little stale. And then what had been alternative music, in the very late '80s started to become more mainstream, you know.
Which is weird because sometimes I'll hear a song being played on the radio, and I'm like, by the time they had become mainstream, I had been sick of them already because we were listening. You know what I mean? Because we're listening to them
Yeah,
from K Rock. K
right.
Rock was with Rodney. That was the place to hear the new music. So by the time some Cure or even Duran Duran, even when those hit K Rock, we're just like, ugh, we're already moving on to we're going down and buying the imports at record stores that nobody really heard of. We had to pay 2 times more to buy a imported record to get the
Right.
good stuff.
Were there
So
any little underground record stores that were kind of not Amoeba and not Tower Records, but other places that were a little more cliquish,
yeah,
or
there was
what?
one here in the valley that I loved because I live in the San Fernando Valley. I'm a Goth Valley girl. So it was called Blue Meanie,
Okay.
and it had that. My friend and I would go there, and every Saturday we'd walk up there, and I would babysit so I could buy my imported records that I couldn't get at Licorice Pizza. Remember Licorice Pizza?
No, I never lived in the valley. I lived down in Orange County later in life.
Oh, okay. Because Licorice Pizza was a huge record store, and wait, Tower Records too. Tower, yeah. But and then I don't know what it is now. Now it's a little store that sells 99-cent things. And there was Moby Disc. Moby
Oh,
Disc.
okay.
That
That's
was a good
cool.
one. Yeah, that they.
Um,
I think they had two stores. There was one here in the valley, and there was one in Hollywood, I believe. So
I'm looking into the chat room and I see some new people, so they must be your people because I don't recognize some of them. Golden Coin 100. Someone wants to know, what's the feeling of industrial dance? Please share.
oh, how do I feel about it? Is
Yeah,
that what
your
you mean?
feelings on that genre.
I love it. I'm not a snob when it comes to music. I believe if you truly love music, you're going to appreciate everything. There's something in every genre that I love.
Hmm.
I love bluegrass. I love some old country. I love I love anything that my brain says, hey, this is good. I want to dance to it.
Right, right.
I like to dance. Okay, so and Matthew doesn't dance, so
Aw,
I dance circles around him.
that's okay.
No, I love
Uh,
industrial music too. Totally.
okay. Do you think, and that kind of say that it clicked in my head, and I have a question to kind of coincide with that question. Do you think because the early 80s were so alternative, and then as we got into the mid 80s, then we got into the hair bands, and then it all started to get real stale and kind of ugly, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion, musically. And then as the late 80s feathered out into the early 90s, and you can disagree with me if you do disagree, but I think that Nine Inch Nails kind of woke the scene back up.
Oh,
The
I love Nine Inch
imagery
Nails.
and
Yep.
the sheer raw power of Trent Reznor's music kind of brought alternative music back and brought in that kind of black leather S&M feel, hardcore industrial. And I'm of course going to say these are bands I've listened to: KMFDM, Joy
Mm-hmm.
Division, the kind of the angst of Joy Division, the hardcore kind of background of what Ministry had done for so long, the Butthole Surfers, one of my favorite bands, the Butthole Surfers, um, and KMFDM, the German band. Everyone knows them. Who is it? Uh,
Rammstein.
yes. And and Trent just kind of it just exploded, in my opinion. I saw the very first Lollapalooza tour,
Mm-hmm.
and Nine Inch Nails was in the lineup. But that lineup for that year on the very first one, people tend to forget. There was In Living Color, Nine Inch Nails, the Butthole Surfers, Ice T, but Susie and the Banshees was on there,
Mm-hmm.
and the headliner that year was Jane's Addiction, which Jane's Addiction was kind of like, I wouldn't call them a goth band per se, but they certainly had that
No.
alternative sensibility in
Yeah.
terms of it. The crowd. It really went well that year. And right after that show, that was in Chicago, and 11 days later, Jane's Addiction broke up. But
I
so
never really.
as
I'm. Yeah,
go
I
ahead,
never really got into Jane's Addiction myself, but
it's kind of, yeah, I think it's an
I
acquired
wouldn't
taste.
consider them. Yeah, I wouldn't consider them goth. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-mm.
I don't know what they're kind of. I don't know. They're not goth, and they're not punk. There are some kind of alternative, but they're not. I mean, they have their own thing, so that's good.
Right. So as the scene kind of blossomed in the early 90s with this new influx of music and even movies like The Crow coming out and kind of waking up that whole gothic sensibility, were there clubs in LA that sprang up that became influential in the local scene?
Well, actually, by that time, my husband was more into it in the '90s, but I was going through some stuff, and I wasn't really like I was in it from a distance. I didn't really go out at the time because I was going through horrible agoraphobia and anxiety. So I kind of was on the outside, and I had my daughter then, and it wasn't until about '99 that I really started to get back into it. But um, my husband, he's the one that did all that stuff in the '90s, but he's not here right now. But
Got
I
it.
knew there, but I know that there was some in LA, and I know there was one in Simi, I believe. Like it was like, but they were small,
Hmm.
they were small. And one thing that I noticed though when I started to get back out was the nobody dressed anymore.
Ah, yeah,
Nobody dressed up anymore. It had gotten kind of lazy,
it's a big
and
commitment.
it is a big commitment.
It
But
really is. And I'm not minimizing it by saying that. I really mean that. I see what it takes.
yeah, but not saying that if you can't dress to the nines, you're not welcome, because that's totally not true. Which and that kind of that's kind of an issue right now where people thinking that they don't belong because they're not extravagant enough, or they don't put enough stuff on their eyeballs, or they don't have
Right.
fabulous, gowns and whatever. But I think it's because it did start out as such. It's an art form. Goth is an art form. It's not.
Absolutely.
It is. It is. The core is music. The core is art. So that's why there's a lot of people that are like me, that are like, hello, I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm getting tongue tied myself. My brain starts working faster than my mouth. Uh, you know what I'm saying, though? That, okay. There
Maybe
goes
I
my
can help you.
thought.
Maybe I
Oh,
can help
yeah.
you out a little bit. Not
Yeah.
only is it the genre of music, but it's also a visual aesthetic. Also, it transcends
That's
into
it.
fashion beyond the music. And then even dressing up and going out and even just being yourself is actually kind of an act of performance art, as I see it.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
you hit all these multiple levels of music, culture, fashion, and then your very being itself being an act of
Yeah.
performance art. And
Right.
so there's a lot of layers to that, to read into that.
Right. So,
Is
but there are some people that they can't make the commitment of the total look. I say that in quotations because people think that there is just one kind of a look that you,
mm-hmm.
as a goth, but that's okay, and they shouldn't be ostracized for not. Maybe they don't have the full vision, or they don't have the resource. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's a part of the scene that gets me a little irked when it comes to people thinking they have to be a certain way.
Right.
So
One of my biggest beefs has always been, you'll probably laugh at this, but all the clothes at Hot Topic are for skinny little girls. Like,
that's
there's no plus size goth clothes at Hot Topic if you're not a skinny mini.
right. Well,
Uh,
that's why I make all my outfits out of thrift stores. Thrift stores are the best place you can make a complete goth outfit for like
ab-
$20. Trust me.
I, I have someone, Maui Pro Media. I don't know who you are, Maui Pro Media, but if you are Pro Media, get a hold of me. Let's talk. I like to know, Queenie, do you listen to Billie Eilish? And what do you think of Billie Eilish, if you in fact do?
Billie Eilish, I believe it's Billie Eilish. Okay,
Oh,
so
I'm sorry, I'm
that,
mispronouncing
yeah,
it.
that
Okay.
is someone I just learned about. See, I'm not, and I enjoy my old gothic music, and like I was saying, I like everything. And apparently, she's younger. I think she's only about, what, in her 20s, or maybe 19 or something. But she sings real. She's got a beautiful voice. But apparently, I think she's a part of the newer goth scene,
Okay.
for the younger
Hmm.
kids. I think she has a beautiful voice, and I like some of her music myself. Um, because I'm not going to be what they call an elitist when it comes to the music, because every um, scene has to change.
Hmm.
It's going to change, and us older people that saw it from the beginning, just, I've said this many times, that we can enjoy what we saw from the beginning, and we can hold on to the core, but you have to let the younger people um, experiment for themselves, just like we got to do. So
Right.
that's why. So things are changing, and some people don't like it, but I'm okay with it, because I have my memories, and I like the way goth was, and I like what it's. Well, I like to watch things. I like to watch things change and get more. You know what I mean? You know what I
Right.
mean.
Watch the scene evolve. Yeah. things change and morph with the times, and also it gets
Right.
influenced by technology and the internet and other
Exactly.
media outlets.
Exactly.
Um,
So
do
I
you,
don't listen
no, go
to her
ahead.
a lot. I don't listen to her a lot. You know, I've heard a few songs, but I think she has a beautiful voice, and I think she's cute too. I think she's cute.
Yeah, no doubt. What do you think? I'm just tossing this out. What do you think of the band Ghost? Do you think because he's kind of got those dark, deep vocals that's somewhat melodic sometimes, it's not all one thing. Do you think Ghost qualifies, or do you think they're still more into alt rock
Mm.
territory?
Um, I don't listen to them personally. I never got into them, so I can't really say. But I know a lot of people are into them that are, you know, my friends and stuff like that. So I can't really comment because I don't know why. I just haven't dove into their music at all. So
Right.
they have a
So let
cool look.
Oh, absolutely. No. I love the theatrical element of Ghost for sure. And I haven't listened to a
Yeah,
lot of their music. It hasn't really grabbed me per se. But
right.
I don't pay a lot of attention to things. I'm one of those people. Something can be really big and popular, and everyone is watching it, and I just don't bother with it at the time. But then I'll go back 5 years later,
Same.
and then I'll take my time and be like, okay, I'm ready for this. For one thing, everyone's not talking about it all the time, so let's see what that was all about. And one of those things, like, people will flip out. I have never seen one episode of Game of Thrones, not
uh,
one episode.
I've only seen a couple, and I'm not into it.
And it was one of those things. If I see it, I want to see it from the beginning. I don't want to jump in on a storyline. Like, I just don't do that. And I did the same thing with Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad had come and gone and was on Netflix, and I had not seen one episode of it. And so
I didn't get into
I'm
that one either.
now I'm just picky about stuff like that. So shifting gears a little bit. So we have the LA scene, but you weren't really doing the clubbing thing in the
Yeah.
early 90s. So how did this lifestyle, and it is a lifestyle, someone commented in the
Mhm.
chat room, and yes, I want to acknowledge it is a lifestyle. And I just want to add in, it's really weird. If people knew me personally, sensibility, my sense of humor and stuff, but I just don't look it. But
Mhm.
internally, that my head is there. But anyway, so in terms of what's going on with you internally and living this lifestyle, at what point did you create the dolls and start to get into the art and become more of an entrepreneur and get out in the scene in that way?
Well, the internet is amazing. Let me say, the internet is amazing to help you get out. Okay, if you're having issues of anxiety and you know, social anxiety, the internet came along and introduced me to, oh my God, there's other people like me in super early 90s, right? So I started to get back into it because of that. And I've always been a creative person. You know, I've always been, but I at that time I was like, I can't be an artist unless I've been in a gallery show. You know, I didn't realize that you could just be a creative and say, I'm an artist, everybody. You know, you can do that. You don't have to be in gallery shows. And I was one day I was just like, I want to draw some spooky girls that are cute too, you know, because
Hmm.
there at the time there wasn't a lot of there was some, you know, Joan Vasquez and Roman Dirge and, you know, of course Tim Burton.
Oh yeah.
There wasn't a lot of women doing it too. There wasn't a lot of female. So I was just like, I want to do some super cute girly things, you know, that but are spooky. So I just started doing it, and I would show my friends, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, you should make that into a sticker. I'd totally buy it." Is that your cat? I could hear.
That is not a cat. That is a
Oh, is it?
cockatoo. And
Oh.
we got a new cage for it today, and it's big. It's a really big cage for a bird that size. So
Ooh.
he's living large, and
Ooh.
I'm
Of
home
course, animal.
alone. Yeah, yeah. So he's 2 rooms away, and he's letting me know that this bird. I don't mean to jump tracks on you, but this cockatoo, like it's something that my partner got, and I was neutral about it, and now you can hear it. And but they're really smart. They have the intelligence of like a 2 or 3 year old child, and so it had this call. And long story short, I got this bird, and it'll start with 1, and then do 2, and then 3, and then 4. And I was trying to just teach this bird like the number 3, like an odd number call.
Hmm.
But then he took it upon himself to add 1 to it. He kept doing 1, 2, 3, and then he added 4. And so we're seeing where this goes. So he calls out to me across the house, and if I do not return the call, then he gets upset and he starts doing. He can hear me talking in here, and he is
He
pissed
wants to
that
be on
I'm
the
not.
show.
Yes, absolutely. But he bit me a few weeks ago and took a couple of chunks out of me. So we're just now getting
Ooh.
back on friendly terms. Like I don't dislike the bird. I stuck my finger in when he had not signaled that he was ready to be petted.
Yeah.
I made an assumption, and he corrected me.
I used to
But
have
anyway,
cockatiels. I used to have cockatiels, a
okay, yeah.
tiny one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They used to. He used to sit on my plate while I was eating and steal my salad.
That's hilarious.
So
That's
cute.
hilarious.
So
So I
cute.
didn't mean to distract you or derail you from your talk about Gothic art and how you got into the scene and creating the Pocket Full of Posies dolls.
Yeah. So anyway, I just felt like there was I just wanted to do it, and then I had people saying I will buy it. So it literally snowballed from there. But I think it's for one reason, like I was saying, there wasn't a lot, and like now it's oversaturated. There's
Mm-hmm.
so many creepy cute stuff, so much creepy cute stuff that I'm kind of like stepping back from that now because there's just so much of it. But so and then I met my husband, and he's a sculptor. He works in the toy industry. So he was able to help me. I was like, because I always I wanted to make dolls out of these girls. So he was able to help me do that dream. And I did 3 dolls, and the first doll, Lilionia, well, I had some stuff in Hot Topic too.
Oh, did
But
you?
yeah, I did. I did. I had t-shirts and stickers, and my first doll was in there. But then they ordered the second doll, and then they decided it was right on the cusp of when they decided they were making this huge change to their stores, that they were going to get rid of all their toys, all their
Uh,
all that. So that was a nightmare. But anyways, it was cool to be in there, while that lasted. But then now they've got all the toys back, So,
right, right.
but I'm moving on now to a different style of dolls. So still
That's
making
cool.
dolls, but it didn't matter no matter how, like I've had lots of successes, lots of failures, but I'm always chugging along trying to be creative. It's been almost 20 years I've been doing this, and I'm just like some days I sit there and go, I can't believe I still have people that want to buy my art 20 years later.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
it's so not easy, especially now, like I said, because it's everybody is just out there, like it was
Right,
it kind of was like easier to promote yourself back 10, 15 years ago
right.
because you could be seen, and now it's just like, hey, here, it's like, I'm here, look at me, look at me, look up here.
That's exactly like me in this show. But So,
No, it's yeah, it's not easy. It's not
oh
easy to
no,
self-promote anymore.
I'm not joking. Like, I have people who are friends of mine now that have shows of their own. I didn't even know they existed when I decided to have a show. It's not like I knew all these podcasts were going on about this topic and I decided to just be one of those people. I
Right.
had heard a couple of big names and I was like, you know what? I do that. And I just started. And then I found out all these other people existed, had their own podcasts. I was not watching them. I didn't know who they were. And then I found out. And then I realized that I was just another number out of a large number of people that
Mm-hmm.
have a podcast. And it burst my bubble a little bit for a little while. I was like, wow, but I enjoy doing this and I enjoy the topic. So
Yeah,
I'm
keep going, keep
sticking
on
with it.
going.
Yeah.
Don't stop. Yeah.
No,
Don't
no, no.
stop.
I'm actually, like it was kind of start and go. And of course it is about subscribers and stuff like that for me. But in terms of trying to get to some kind of monetary success, which,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't, this is not a vanity project for me, or, I really want it to succeed, to have some commercial value. And I don't mind saying that because I don't think there's
Right.
anything wrong with making money. But
Right.
you know, I just, I kind of had to find my own place in this, my own voice. But now I'm starting to get some traction where there are really people that do watch the show and they really do follow the topics. And I'm getting a good traction. And if I can even say this, and I've not said anything like this, but a little bit of a fan base is building and I'm starting to get some traction that way. And it's starting to
Awesome.
feel good. And that's rewarding in and of itself,
Yeah,
even
it
though
is.
there's no money coming in, there's money going out but none coming in, but it still feels
Yep.
good and it's rewarding. You know what I mean?
Money's always going out.
Right. So did you ever, I used to buy Gothic Beauty magazine, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like whenever I could get to a Barnes and Nobles I would pick one up if they had it in stock. Did you ever have any dealings with Gothic Beauty magazine, or any of like the
Yeah.
photo shoots or models?
Well, I never was a model in that, but they did a couple articles on me. I think I'm in two. I think back in the early 2000s. So, oh no, I was on the cover of a couple. No, not Gothic Beauty, a different magazine. Do you know Devolution magazine?
I've never seen it.
Devolution magazine. I believe they're
Hmm.
still going. I believe they're still going 10 years later or a little bit longer. But yeah, yeah, they did some things on me in Gothic Beauty, which was super cool because everybody, that was the magazine to buy.
Oh
You
yeah,
could
it's
buy,
slick.
yeah,
That's slick paper, high
yep,
quality, well produced.
yep, yep. So
Yeah,
that
good
that was
stuff.
cool. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
think
like that.
there's one of the magazines. There's a interview with me, and then there's an interview with my friend Eric Piggers on the other side.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was cool. Yeah.
So, have you
So
ever done an LA exhibition of your artwork in a gallery anywhere? Has that happened yet?
I've never done a solo show, but I've been in lots of shows. I've been in lots of group shows, and they're all the spooky, they were all spooky related and stuff. And I used to do a lot of conventions. My first convention, my first time vending, it wasn't a
Hmm.
convention, was do you remember when Noah was doing the Bat Stay Black Market? Bet
Yeah,
for the
vaguely.
Disney. Yeah, well, that started in 2003, I think. Six. Oh God, time has gone by, so I don't remember the years anymore. But that was my very first time vending. I had tiny, tiny, tiny table, and people actually bought stuff. I was like, woohoo! I made $100.
And I
But
paid $4 to put the table here.
exactly, exactly. So that got me started into vending, and then I started doing conventions and stuff. But I don't do that too much now because it's more difficult the older you get.
Hmm.
you know, more life challenges. So I've kind of taken a step back from vending and stuff. And I would love to have a solo show somewhere. But I don't know. Maybe it's because a lot of times I'm not super proactive on saying, you know, can I have one? You know what I mean? Like I just
Yeah, the
kind of,
networking it takes to get out and schmooze
yeah,
people and hang out on a Friday and Saturday night somewhere, and then blah blah
yeah,
blah.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
it
also
takes a lot.
it does, and it's hard enough just doing what I do now. So I don't know. I uh I go with the flow, and if somebody wants me in their show, then I'm like, yes. I always say yes because I'm up for challenges always, no matter what the subject is. Yes, I'll do it. You know, so that's it. I think that's another reason why I'm still around 20 years later, is because I always say yes, I'll do it. You know.
So absolutely. So we touched earlier on the fact that you know Mark Gemini Thwaite and his girlfriend
Mm-hmm.
Chris Crane, who is a professional makeup artist in LA, and she has a really nice career of her own going on.
Yes, she
Um,
does.
has the goth scene, or I'm not maybe necessarily looking for exactly how you met them, but being in LA, has your art had you cross paths with other celebrities or other bigger media companies and gotten you some exposure, even if privately or personally, that
Uh,
might not have been seen by the public?
yes. I'm. I would have to say that I live a nice, lucky life. Maybe I don't know if it's lucky, but I mean, I work hard. My husband and I both work hard super hard for being able to do the things we do. But because of him too, because my husband's in the toy business, high collectible business, we get to meet people, you know, through him. But meeting, yeah, it goes like this: you meet an artist, and then you meet an artist through them, and then you meet somebody through them, and then you get to meet, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's just I meet a lot of cool people. I get to know a lot of cool people, and I don't know. It's kind of hard to say how you go about doing that. It just kind of happens for me. It just kind of happened for me. You know, I just meet people through people through people through people, and then, you know, you mess with some people, you know, and so
I
yeah,
think that happens when you're a good, competent artist and you're a creative person. And I think a lot of times once you get to that place, success kind of builds on itself. Your artwork
yeah,
speaks for itself. You know what I mean? So, like, you
yeah,
don't have to
yeah.
sell yourself because the art is so good that it speaks for itself. You don't have to do the work. And I get that.
I'm
Something you
still
said
kind of like,
earlier. No, go
I'm
ahead.
still kind of like, I I still have self doubt in my artwork, you know. So I think that's one reason why I'm always changing it up, because I like to challenge myself to see what else I could do. So I have a problem calling myself successful. So, you know, I don't know. I feel lucky that people like what I do.
Right.
I
No,
don't
no.
know.
And no, no, that has an intrinsic value in of itself, just that expression. And
Mhm.
so, so I'm going to look in the chat room after I ask you this question. What new artwork are you working on? And also, where can people find your art? Do you have an Etsy store, right, or other locations where they can uh, get a hold of some of this merchandise?
Well, I haven't I kind of backed away from painting and drawing for a while because, like I said, I got kind of burnt out, you know, from the oversaturation that I see. But this painting back here was my last painting. I don't know if they could see it, but uh, I kind of went more for realism. But my okay, this is what I'm working on now. I am working on new dolls, and I'll show you
Awesome.
one. They're more like, the ball jointed dolls.
Uh-huh.
Woo!
Hmm.
You know. So I'm gonna start making more custom. More. My husband sculpted this for me. He 3D sculpted it, and then she's printed out. And she's got little bats on her shoes. Look at the little bats. Can you see the bat buckles? Oh no, this side.
Nope, it's blown
You
out. It's
know,
just white.
is it? Darn it.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, that's my new endeavor.
Oh,
Doing,
we could see
yeah.
that. We could
Did you
see
see
that.
that?
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
I
That reminds me, I've seen, I'm not trying to cut you off. Have you seen, I don't know the girl's name, Japanese artist, but she's doing these like creepy, hyper realistic little dolls with kind of makeup like that a little bit. It's a little
ooh,
more
not
anime looking, less goth, not so much in the goth or alt genre, but more towards realistic anime sort of.
I probably have, but like okay, like with my artwork, I'm kind of like you, or where you don't seek out to see what everybody else is doing. You, I just go with what I want to do. So I don't. I mean, even though I do have friends that are other artists, and I totally appreciate their talent and what they're doing, and I might collect some of their art. I don't seek out other artists only because focus. It helps me focus on what I want to do, because I don't like to be too influenced by other artists. So I've always had this like tunnel vision thing. So I might have seen her, but I don't go out seeking, what
Right.
what I'm going to work on now. I kind of try to avoid it so I
Yeah.
can focus on bringing my own creation to the new endeavor.
Right. Ronnie
Get
James
it?
Dio kind of famously said when he was working on an album, he wouldn't listen to other rock bands. He would only listen to
Yep,
classical music
that
because he didn't want to
exactly.
get influenced or have anything color his process. And
Mhm.
it was classical music only while he was making an album.
That's
I do have a,
exactly.
yeah. Sasha Baumel from the chat room wants to know, who are your influences as an artist?
That's always a hard one because like I just said, I I don't like to be influenced by other artists, but I like to be influenced by history, by things I see visually in life, by colors, um, nature, animals. It's like even though it doesn't seem that way, if I draw something, with that looks totally gothic or whatever, it's still it's because I saw something that looks like it's really hard to explain. And I don't think I'm explaining this right. But maybe other artists that I like, I could answer that,
Okay,
I
sure.
guess. Um but I probably don't remember their names. Ugh.
Let me ask you this. And that's something I thought of earlier. Maybe this is a good place to bring this one out. Have you been one of those people that I'm not quite sure what the word is. I don't know about upset, or you get a little pissy when some stuff goes super mainstream, or when someone will cop the goth style or the aesthetic
Mm.
for a movie or a TV show, but do it in a kind of a shallow way. Like the look might be great or whatever, but you know that it's just kind of like Hollywood kind of glomming on. I
Oh,
hate the term cultural
yeah.
appropriation. I'm not going to use that, but that they kind of glom onto something for commercial purposes, but do
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
do you get upset by that, or are you glad that the gothic aesthetic is getting promoted at all?
Well, that goes back to the thing about it evolving, because what ended up happening was obviously goths, the creative goths now are running, are in a part of Hollywood or wherever, so they kind of were like, oh, let's dive in, or and sprinkle it a little bit with some goth. But then there's some people, I guess, wait, okay, let me redo that. Okay. Yeah, and scene. Okay, so yes and no, because okay, okay, let me tell you. This is I'm literally like I could talk and talk and talk until that red light comes on, and then I will go, you know.
Yeah.
So okay, like I was saying, the scene can evolve, but when I do see a character, they used to do it in the 80s too with the punk, they would call him a punker on TV or
Right.
something. Look at that punk, that guy's a punker, and then he just looks ridiculous. Like you're like, punks wouldn't wear that, or
Right.
something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, no goth would ever wear that. It's because somebody's going off what they think goth is. I just think it's funny. Now when I get older, I think it's funny. When I was younger, I would be so protective of my subculture, that I would get pissed off. But now that I'm older, I don't get pissed. I just think it's funny,
Right.
but yeah. That's
That's
what I was trying
because
to say.
I think we've all been worn down, no matter what subculture you're
Yeah.
into, because everything has been appropriated. And one might argue that even the existence of Hot Topic is kind of the manifestation of that. That
Mhm.
is that commercial in the mainstream mall answer to what was underground shops, record stores, and
Right.
the like.
It's because somebody saw that they recognized how cool it was, but they just didn't get it quite right. You know what I mean? There's
Right.
this and it's because the the creativity wasn't the creative mind wasn't there. It was just like the surface, like you were saying, very shallow interpretation of what we know, what our lifestyle is, because it's a lifestyle. It is a
Ab-
lifestyle. I'm the
It
opposite of
absolutely is.
you. I'm the opposite of you, where you like to wear color, and you
Hmm.
like to wear color, but my house is like that. My house is colorful, like, but I always wear black. That's just my thing. I like to wear black. I look the best in black, but my house is like a color wonderland. So, but I still consider myself living the goth lifestyle.
For me,
Because
it was a bounce back. Pre-transition, I had worked in live entertainment, and I dressed like a roadie all the time. And I always
yeah.
had black cargo shorts and a black T-shirt or a band shirt, and that's all I wore all the time.
Mhm.
And then as I transitioned and all that started to happen, it was my introduction to colors. So now I have kind of an obsession with bright, poppy, kind of tacky
Yeah.
stuff, and because I looked like a roadie, the quintessential roadie, backstage person.
Mhm.
That was my look, and it wasn't thought up. That was just me. But so it was very plain compared to what I become now. So
Well, now you're living your life. That's
now I'm living
why.
my life. Now I'm being my
Yep.
authentic self, and I like this so much more in terms of
Yep.
just being satisfied with life. But
Yep.
this is not about me. This is about you. So
But I like talking to everybody, so that's interesting. I like learning about other people too.
no, absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and ask. This is a nosy ass question. How do you know Chris Crane and Mark Gemini Thwaite?
I met them through Gary Newman, through
Oh,
who I met through my friend Amy Nicoletto, who's a tattoo artist.
okay.
So,
And for reference, Mark, at least on Gary Newman's last tour, Mark played guitar for him.
Right.
Mark
He would.
Gemini
Yeah.
Thwaite not only is a solo artist in his own right, excuse me, but he is one of the premier hired gun guitar players in the
Yes.
alt rock goth scene. He's
He was
played with a
just
lot of
playing with.
people:
Yeah. He just
Tricky,
played with.
Peter Murphy,
Yeah.
Gary Newman.
Yeah. He's one of the. He's an icon in
He
himself.
is.
You know.
He was so fucking cool, and I mean, you know, all I did, I pestered him on Facebook. I kept pestering him on Facebook, like, and then he was going on tour, and Peter Murphy was coming to Phoenix, and I was like, "Look, you're coming to town. Please let me interview you." And I couldn't believe it that he let me. And we went in early, and you know, sound check was sort of going on, not the full blown real thing, but
Mm-hmm.
we could hear things being plugged in and channels being checked. And we did the interview, and I had such a good time, and I was so honored that he, because you know, on the spectrum of all that, this show is nothing. I'm nobody. I'm not well known. You know what I mean? He let an unknown person come in and conduct that interview, and
Oh, they're
I was so
super sweet.
grateful.
Super
He was
sweet people.
he was and what surprised me about him was, and it was strange, like I'd never seen an interview with him anywhere, and I didn't know how deep his voice was. And I only realized I had heard him play guitar and had seen all these photographs of him, but I never heard him speak. And then when I talked to him, he had that deep voice. I was like, oh, wow. Like, you know, I don't know. I didn't put it together. So that was one of the things that struck me. But he was really kind and being so generous with his time to do that
Yeah.
interview, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. And I look at
Well,
Chris Crane's stuff that she posts all the time as well. Like they're like that fucking beautiful goth LA couple,
yep. Yep.
and you know they're like in the cool clubs and they're in the cool places, and he's got the cool guitar, and I just live vicariously through them. I'm everything they post. I'm like, I love it. I love it.
They're super sweet. The funny thing is, when I first met him, I didn't even realize who he was. I just thought they were super cool people, and we started talking. And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
that's what happens in my life. I meet people, and I don't realize that they're, maybe popular or something. But because I just end up liking the person, and I'm like, oh, they did that. Oh, that's cool. Wow. You know. So,
yeah, absolutely.
and Chris is a strong woman. She's amazing. She's amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah, and she is a spectacular makeup stylist and artist.
Mhm.
She does tremendous work. So we're
Mhm.
getting down into the last couple minutes here, and I was wondering if you could direct people to some pages that you may have.
My
And
Instagram. Yeah.
okay,
Okay, I have quite a few things. Well, I have my Etsy shop that I have prints of my artwork and stuff, but I actually just closed it till the end of the summer because I'm going to be going on vacation. But if you
ah,
look up if Posies with a POSIEZ .etsy.com, then you could still see some of the things that are for sale, but you just can't purchase them yet. But when I come back, there'll be even more stuff because I've got some more cool new stuff coming.
very cool. I'm going
Oh
to
my
sneak in
God.
the last. No, go
Yeah.
ahead.
No, I was going to say I have a bat that you could put on top of your parasol that's coming.
That is
Oh,
cool. That
it's
is cool.
amazing.
We're
It's
listing your
amazing.
Etsy shop right now in the chat room, so go there and we're
Okay.
listing links. And I'm going to sneak in one last screw the clock. I'm going to ask you one last question from the chat room. Gray Chapel says, and thank you to all these new people. I see a lot of new people in the chat room, and they must be here because of you. Thank you. So like and subscribe if
Like
you
and
like this show.
subscribe. Like and
That's right.
subscribe.
And I see Bug. Thank you for being here. Steve, Anita Smith, Sasha Baumel, Ms. Skywalker. I see all you guys here. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your participation. Anyway, so here's this last question. We'll sneak it in. And Gray Chapel asks, have you any accounts of synchronicities / tulpas / phenomena, etc., relating to any of your artwork. And I'm not totally sure what that means, and I'm wondering if you know what that means.
I'm a little, yeah, what does that mean? I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
I don't know.
I'm
I don't
not
know about
sure.
synchronicities. I don't know what a tulpa is. TULPAS.
I don't know.
Natalie Martin. How
Hi,
important
Natalie.
is Natalie Martin? Hi, Natalie.
She's
How
one of my
important?
BFFs.
Oh, there you go. See, I knew you brought some peeps. I knew when I saw new names that you brought some people. How important is it to you to encourage and guide new artists and people in general?
It's super. Oh, it's super important to know that no matter what you do is good. You know, like I said, don't judge your work by other artists because that will end your career right there. Always keep tunnel vision. Don't compare yourself to other people in your life in general. If you want to be how you want to be, do it as long as you're not hurting anybody else. But yes, I encourage all artists. I encourage everybody to do what they want to do in life, like even if you want to be a janitor, go for it. Be the best janitor you can be. That's
Absolutely. We'll leave it there. That's a strong note. And Queenie, I want you to know, thank you for being here, and you're welcome back anytime. And when you get some
ooh,
new pieces, some new things are ready for marketplace, come back and we'll help promote it. And you're always
ooh,
welcome
awesome.
on Mysterious Forces of
Thank
Life.
you.
Thank you. And so I
I
think.
had so much fun.
Oh, go ahead. Go
I'll
ahead.
come back.
Yeah, thanks. So
Oh,
I got enough juice to have some happy music for the outro.
woohoo!
Anyway, thank you so much. Please catch me at my table at the International UFO Congress. That's September 4th through the 8th in Phoenix, Arizona. It's the world's longest running UFO conference. And I'm also going to be at Disclosure Con in Pine Top, Arizona at the beginning of October. That's Doc Skinner's event, and I'm going to be having him on soon. We'll talk about it. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Please
Bye.
like and subscribe. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much. And Queenie, again, thank you so much. I love your style.
Oh, thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.